I mostly know Jeremy from his previous talks and kind of talking to him about technical things, 10xing Rails performance and crazy stuff. But he has a really interesting talk coming up called Chipmunks and Unicorns, which is something that I'm probably going to learn a lot about. And so I can't wait to see what's happening. Jeremy, are you ready to take it away?
Hi, my name is Jeremy. Here's a couple of my social links, Twitter, GitHub. You can find me on Lucky Discord a lot too. So this talk is actually not going to be code-based. So this will be basically my first. I've given a lot of code-based talks, but yeah, this is going to be my first one where it's not really code-based. So yes, Jack mentioned I'm talking about Chipmunks and Unicorns, but the title of the talk, it doesn't make any sense. And that was kind of intentional. It's meant to be nonsense because where the title comes from is so let's say I'm talking with a family member, someone who doesn't know anything about programming, whatever, and you know, I might get wrapped up in what I'm doing too much, where I start flowing into more very technical terms and whatever. And that's generally when I'll start to lose somebody when you know, I'm talking about like, let's say annotations or singleton classes and module mixins and whatever. We all understand what that means. But when I'm talking to someone that doesn't do programming, I might as well be saying Chipmunks and Unicorns because honestly, it just makes no sense. Really, this talk though is about communication. And you know, a lot of our communication is going to be done online through issues, PRs, or through Discord chats and stuff like that. It's less common for us to interact in person, you know, especially in a setting like this. Developers all around the world. So, you know, a lot of us, we might talk online a lot of the times, but we don't get to talk in person. Now, when you're talking online, sometimes context can be lost, emotions can, you know, be lost and whatever. So you don't know if what I said, am I joking, you know, what's my tone and all that kind of stuff. Sometimes we can kind of throw in like emotes and stuff like that. I use Giphy to better show like, hey, you know, I'm joking around. I'm kind of in a lively mood here. But really, it's more about like what you say and how you say it can make a huge difference, especially with Crystal now be, you know, 1.0, 1.1's coming up soon. We have a lot of new people coming to the community. And so, you know, someone pops into Discord and they're like, hey, I'm brand new here. You know, I have a question, and maybe it's a question that was just asked 30 seconds prior, right? And you might be like, oh my God, people keep asking this question. So we have to sort of step back a second and think to ourselves, well, you know, someone new, they didn't see the answer, so we have to give them the same enthusiasm that we did the previous 30 times. So a lot of times programmers can be salty. You know, you see some programmers that have been around for quite a while, and I think they tend to forget what it's like to be more on the junior side. You know, when you're doing it over and over and stuff like that, and someone comes in and they ask a question like, you know, what's an instance variable or something like that, right? And, you know, as a more senior dev, you got 15, 20 years experience or whatever, you might tend to forget like, oh yeah, there's people that don't know what instance variables are, right? And we have to sort of take a moment to reflect and remember that not everyone has that same level of experience. So what I want to do is, these were pulled from my own personal experience, okay, where I actually got the talk from was basically a mix of interacting within my local programming communities, actually in person with people, and then interacting with people online and whatever. And I noticed there was sort of these trends with certain people I interacted with and certain communities and stuff like that. And I just would think like, wow, these people are pretty salty. So what I did was I actually just took a couple of examples, sort of named them, but I'll go through them. The first is the unhelpful. I've seen examples where someone's creating a brand new, like let's say a web framework or whatever, and someone posts an issue and says, why? Like the issue title is why. And you see their comment is, hey, there's already this and this and this. Why are you creating another web framework? We don't need another web framework in this community, right? Well, that's not very helpful, okay? Maybe I want to learn more about creating web frameworks. Maybe I've tried the ones that are out there and they don't fit the needs that I want, right? I mean, there's a lot of reasons. Maybe I'm just doing some random examples, or there could be a lot of things. So if you're one of those people that are just questioning, why make another language, why make another framework, that it's just, you're not being helpful at all. Then there's the elite, where you say, hey, how do I do this one thing, right? And they might respond with, why are you trying to do that? Or no, I wouldn't do it like that. There's a better way. Okay, thanks, Grandmaster. Can you tell me what that better way is? Now I get, you might think, well, you could be asking why as a way to get more context, but this plays into the how you say things can make a big difference, right? You just come out and say, why are you trying to do that? That can be interpreted as, being a bit abrasive or aggressive or whatever. So just think about like, okay, yeah, all I want to know is more context so I can help you. Well, then say that, right? Actually be vocal about like, hey, can you give us a little bit more context? The question seems a little bit vague and I want to make sure I understand correctly. The downvoter. So you post an issue, like let's say I want to request a feature in Crystal. I say, hey, I think it'd be great if Crystal could support whatever. And then I see 7 downvotes, just thumbs down. No responses to the issue, just a bunch of thumbs down. Okay, so all I know at this point is that 7 people don't like my suggestion, but no one has told me why it's a bad suggestion. No one's told me, maybe why they're confused as to why I'm asking this question. So this is something to keep in mind. The annoyed, the person that, someone asks a question and they say, okay, cool, I'll answer it. So that person asks a follow-up question, and then you notice at each response, their responses start to get shorter and shorter. And so they're just like, okay, look, you're obviously not getting it, and you can tell that they're starting to get annoyed. The scrupulous, I've had this happen to me where someone asked a question, I gave an answer to that question, and someone else came in and just said, wrong. That was it. What, wrong? What's wrong? Why was that wrong? That doesn't help anything. Now, all you've done is sort of like question my credibility as to giving the answer. And this new person is now like, okay, I see one person giving me an answer, another person saying that that's not right. And now I don't know who to believe. And, I don't feel comfortable in this community anymore. The controller. So this is someone who, let's say I'm new to the community and I don't see any bright orange signs that tell me, hey, here's where you need to go and whatever. So my first thought is, if I have a question, I don't know where the best place to ask this question is, so I'll just ask in an issue. I'll open up an issue, ask a question, and instead of giving me an answer, they just say, this is not where you should be asking the question. You need to go to the forum, or go to the Discord or something like that. Okay, well, I'm new to the community, so I really appreciate the warm welcome. You could have at least answered the question and then told me, hey, just so you know, next time we have the Discord, here's the link. Feel free to drop in and all that kind of stuff. The give up, it's kind of like the annoyed, but this is the person that's a bit more vocal about like, I'm done helping you. I don't know what to tell you. You're obviously not getting it. So I'm just going to give up and stop helping you. Right. Instead of just giving up, you could say like, hey, this is crossing into a line that I'm not very comfortable in any more answers, or maybe I'm not explaining this well enough. Possibly someone else might be able to help out. Don't necessarily give up, give them something, else. Hey, why don't you try, go asking over in this forum or post on Stack Overflow. I'm sorry I couldn't be of more help, but I don't know how else to help at that point. The abrasive, and I've seen this a lot too in local communities, programming, whatever. I would ask questions and say like, hey, I have this problem, and how do I solve it to do whatever, da, da, da. And then have people say, well, you don't do that. Like, okay, so I need to solve a problem, and you're just telling me don't. So, okay, I'm gonna go tell my boss, sorry, I can't solve this thing that you want me to do because the community tells me to just not do it. It's not helpful. So you want to make sure that you're giving some sort of response as to, look, if it's not the most performant way, ignore that. Tell me how to solve the problem first, and then help me make it faster later. So don't be salty. Okay, I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And obviously, a lot of these, they're subjective and whatnot, but we're talking about building open source community, building up Crystal. We're going to have all of our different individual sub communities off Crystal, for example, like the Lucky framework community. So as we're each building up our own communities, we need to make sure that we're more inviting, and we can actually spread this out. And here's a couple of tips. The first one obviously is communication is key. And I think the Crystal team is doing a great job with their communication, especially recently, with the 1.0, saying like, look, we're letting you know we're going to be doing releases every 3 months. We're going to have times we're going to lock down. We're going to do more blog posts and stuff like that. Being really open and communicating with your community is going to be key for sure. Be honest with everything. Hey, I know PRs have slowed down. Sorry about that. Look, everyone's busy. It's open source, so we can only do so much. But we appreciate you guys, sticking with us and all that kind of stuff. Make welcoming core. This is actually something that we've done with the Lucky framework. The welcoming being the core part of the community. When people come in, we always make sure to welcome them, greet them. Hey, welcome. We're glad to have you. If you have questions, feel free to ask us. We don't like when people are like, hey, I'm sorry for being such a noob. Like, no, don't be sorry. Ask away. I don't care if you ask me the same question 10 times. Keep asking until you're satisfied that you understand it. And then when you do have that understanding, pass that along, and you can help welcome other people. Don't be salty, obviously. If you realize that you yourself are being salty, then make sure that you step back, recognize that. Avoid the negative emotes. A thumbs down doesn't tell people why it's a thumbs down. If you really feel the need to thumbs down someone's issue, at least respond with why or your reasoning and all that kind of stuff. Spread the workload. You might want to be really helpful, but don't always jump in saying, being the first person to respond to people's questions and stuff like that. That's great that you're super helpful. But if you're always the only one responding, then when other people want to also be helpful, they're like, well, like the kid up front that always raises his hand, during class, like, well, I'm not going to raise my hand because obviously kid up in front's always going to take that on. Avoid offensive jokes. I've seen a lot of people, I wouldn't really say a lot, but I've seen here and there over the years, people making jokes about, Crystal and all that kind of stuff. We get it. It's just not funny. Just if it's some sort of offensive joke, it doesn't need to be there. Not better, just different. Look, we have a lot of different projects and libraries and stuff like that that are going to be similar to other projects and libraries. Don't just start putting down other, competing projects and libraries saying, no, they suck, mine's best. They're not better, right? They just have different purposes. Someone comes in and asks, is this better or is this better? Say, well, here's the differences between them. Try them both and see which one you like. And remember that positivity spreads joy. Or Crystal, right? This joy was, anyway, manners, please, thank you. You're welcome. Great job and stuff like that. Spread that around, and that really helps to build up your community. And that's the end of my talk. Sorry for going a little bit over, but thank you.
No, you're fine. So that is the end of the talk. For Q&A, we'll ask that things be moved to Discord.